to let ourselves go. I mean, there's so many things we can do that doesn't have negative effects. I remember when we were doing the cosmetic facial acupuncture in the last classes, we talked a lot about botox and fillers and the consequences of that, because we're building towards something that is not sustainable. So we fill in stuff to kind of, you know, make a fake volume that just leaves more space for sagging afterwards. Or even we, you know, want to paralyze the muscles we use the most, but that makes the other ones compensate, and it creates asymmetry. It also creates, you know, a distance with other people. And we know what we really all crave is just connectedness. It's feeling each other. That's where we really feel alive, and we enjoy ourselves. It's when we can connect. And when we disconnect some of the communication points within our face, we feel even more isolated, and that creates more stress. So I think people are also aware of that now, that we kind of need to look at ourselves from a holistic point of view, because we are, and we can't isolate head and body. We can isolate skin and mind. I mean, everything is connected. So the more we can just kind of tweak that circle that we are in and that our skin contains, you know, the more we can work within our own system. We can work with our system rather than against it. And that's also where we experience more flow in general. It's everything is about flow, even within
Yeah.
the skin and in life.
Yeah, because it almost seems like a talk we need to take, this one about Botox and fillers, because it always comes up, what is actually the what's it called, what's on the other side, like if it starts as a little injection here and there, and what actually happens to the face when from a point of view, from your point of view, as someone who really knows about how the skin works and how the lymphatic system works, how the fascia works. What's your thoughts, like, really in the physiological sense, but of course also in the emotional, because it goes together. But for people who doesn't really like, sometimes when I bring these things up, it's like people hear it for the first time, obviously, because it's not something that's spoken very openly about in the beauty industry, because we kind of just want the quick solution and then hope for the best. But what is really going on when using these methods?
I mean, from a whole physical point of view, when we paralyze a muscle, I mean, if we break an arm, it doesn't look fit afterwards. It looks, you know, it's weak and it's sagging and it's not nice. It's the same thing that happens to a muscle. When you paralyze a muscle, it atrophies. And that doesn't only atrophy the muscle, which, you know, loses volume, but it also atrophies the skin, because we are not getting enough of the movement that brings the nutrition and takes away the toxins from that area. So we are creating a lack of flow, which will, of course, be seen in the skin. The skin actually can get thinner in that area where we had the Botox over time, simply because there's no movement that promotes that flow of nutrients and that flow of waste products away from the skin. And that's, I mean, that's not made up. It's physiology. It can't be debated. That's just how it is. And there's also studies showing that. So, and then there's the thing that once you have it done, then you get used to that appearance, and then you kind of want a little bit more. Okay, maybe a little bit more. Why not a little bit more? And in the end, you know, you don't really see it because you don't see your starting point. You just see the accumulation. So you kind of get caught in a bad cycle, because once it wears off, the markings will be bigger because you have blocked the flow and the muscles have, you know, lost its volume. So it really it just creates a bad circle, and it's something that you're gonna have to do forever. But even if you continue doing it, you're still gonna have the sagging of the face and the sagging of the skin, because the muscle doesn't work as well. And then we have the overcompensation that happens in the other muscles of the face. So maybe we remove it here, but then we get more here. So everything, we can't really isolate it the way we want to. I wish we could. That would be so amazing. But You know, everything starts a compensation process. If you hurt your knee, you're gonna have pain in the other side of the body as well, because you're compensating. You're spending more strength on the other side. I had a really great teacher from the UK who was actually coming to Denmark to teach manual lymphatic drainage technique, and she was talking about botox, and she said, you know, you wouldn't paralyze the legs of somebody who's about to run a marathon, would you? So it's kind of like the same. We need everything to work to have that, you know, that health and that glow. So by paralyzing things, we you know, we're cutting it off. We're doing the opposite over time. Maybe it looks nice in the moment and in the first 6 months, but then it's gonna go the other way. And
Yeah.
and I think people who have it done also experience that. I mean, that's what I see from the people that come to me as well. They're, you know, they're not happy with the results over time. So even though it can feel like a nice quick fix, it's gonna come back and bite us. So why not look for different methods, because there are so many.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, and that's my experience as well. And I'm a big fan of. There's a certain plastic surgeon that I'm following on YouTube, because he's actually very honest. He's still a plastic surgeon. No, like that's his work, and he still does his injections. But he did some MRI scans of that was filler, hyaluronic fillers, and found out that it stays in the face for up to 4 years, and he says 4 years plus. Although it's the manufacturer says it disappears after 6 months, and he couldn't control, like it moves around in the face. So he made these MRIs and saw that the filler had moved to other areas of the face, and even lumped together in small knots. So so that was quite interesting, and I thought that's a really kind of an explosive practice to use, because I'm gonna ask you to tell a little bit about also the lymphatic fluid, and then when we use fillers, like what happens then.
The most important thing for you know, the cleanliness of our face is our lymphatic system. It's like our garbage can. So it removes, its job is to remove everything that is not supposed to be there, including filler. And it needs to flow freely. So when there is tension, when there's a, that can be just tension from daily stress, or, you know, jar tension, whatever, but also from fillers, because it creates, you know, a bump in the road, so to speak. So then the lymphatic system doesn't flow as it should, and that means that we're not gonna get the stagnation away from the face the way it's supposed to. And it's the same thing actually with Botox, because what creates that movement is the expressions of the face. It's when we animate our face that we create the movement of the lymphatic system. So we do really compromise the most important system within our skin for it to keep healthy. And it's actually as simple as that. There's no big explanation. It's just creating these little bumps in the road that it has to pass through, and it can't do that by itself. So if people do have fillers or Botox, it's even more important to massage your face. It's even more important to try to do the exercises, because you really need to stimulate that motion manually that doesn't happen naturally anymore. Of course, we have to say that you can't do gua sha if you had fillers in your lips, because it'll actually make it go out of the system faster, which is kind of what we want. Because we want. But so if you had it in your face and it's been, you know, and you want to make sure that it's out, you know, massage the face even more, because you want to create that motion of the lymphatic system with your hands instead, because your face won't be able to do it by itself. Again, also with gravity, you know, if there's tension here, we also stopping it. So we can stop it in so many ways, and we really just have to move it to create that movement.
Yeah, I'm glad we had this talk, because it's there's a lot of myths around, like whether you can do gua sha when you had fillers and Botox, or if you can't, and what's the most healthy thing that you can do. Also with face yoga, like whether you can do face yoga or you can't, and really to